Hey guys, this is Jared with Hunt Nashville. Hope you are doing well. I'm taking this break time to record an intro to this podcast. I'm sitting in the McDonald's parking lot waiting on 4 hot apple pies to cook to take home to my beautiful wife and my kids. I went ahead and left. That's what they requested, so that's what they're getting. But McDonald's had none cooked, so now I get to sit here and wait for 10 minutes. 15 minutes to let them cook, because they apparently, little fact for you, they only take 10 minutes to cook, but they're not allowed to serve them to you until they've sat for 5 minutes because of that coffee lady. That'd be my guess. So not only do I get to sit here for 10 minutes to wait for them to cook, I get to sit here for the 5 minutes after that knowing they're just sitting inside of McDonald's under a warm heating lamp cooling down. And that it's all that coffee lady's fault. So, in this episode of the podcast, that's a really random intro, but, you know, I do it when I can. This episode of the podcast, me and Kevin sat down and just had a little general discussion. Talked about the Bill Busbice thing, about him getting caught shooting a calf or a cow elk. And not taking it with him and just walking off. We talk about that a little bit. Talk about the size of deer that it's okay to hunt, okay to shoot. We both have differing opinions, and I kind of covered it in one of the episodes a couple weeks ago about how I feel about it. But I wanted Kevin's opinion on it, so we talk about that. And we get into a lot of different stuff, mostly deer hunting stuff, little fishing stuff here and there. Just a good all-around conversation. So, if you like these podcasts, make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening out. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. Just search Hunt Nashville, and you should be able to find us. And also, if you're listening on iTunes, go in there and just leave a review. It could be scathingly amazing, or it could just be moderately great. Either way would be fine with us. But that definitely helps people find the podcast. On iTunes podcast, they look at them and look at the ratings and stuff, and the ones with higher ratings and more reviews actually get bumped up to the top, so people are more likely to discover it. See, if you have time, just leave a quick review. It'd be awesome. We'd really love it. I left one for it myself. I said how awesome the podcast was. I know I'm biased, but, you know, it is what it is. And we really appreciate you guys listening, and without further ado, here we go.
In 5, 4, 3. Hello, Hunt Nashville audience. This is Kevin, and on the other line is
Jared. What's up?
We are doing becoming our standard mobile podcast.
You're breaking the fourth wall. Don't let them know that. We're all in the same room, and it's high quality.
It is high quality. I mean,
no one else would be able to afford the way that we're doing this, and nobody should even try.
Man, I've got at least $30 in this case of beer that I've got in the fridge beside me.
I'm rocking my Old Smoky Distillery salted caramel whiskey still, trying to power through that bottle.
Oh, is that the sweet stuff that you had?
Yeah, it's so sweet. I mean, it's good, but it's a lot. You can't drink it very often or you'll get the diabetes.
All right. Yeah. I played a show at that place, at that distillery, and we set up, sound checked, and then they're like, "You guys want to go do a tour of the distillery?" And I'm like, "Heck yeah." And they started giving us samples, and by the time we're done, we had like 10 different samples. And I about fell off the drum stool.
You probably sounded like the animal from the Muppets by the time the set was over.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember playing. It was like we were in that courtyard in Gatlinburg there.
Right, and, I know right where you were.
I was hammered before the show. After the show, hilarious. I felt all right, but man, yeah. But it is, a lot of their stuff is very sweet. But then there's like the back room, really strong stuff that's good, and
put daggum hair on your chest.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a deep burn.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that place is pretty good. When we go, me and my wife and the kids go up there just about every spring break with another couple friends of ours and their daughter, and
my wife and her friend that goes with us, they always go down and we call it the distillery hopping. They go through all the distilleries and do the free or like the $5 sample things that you can do. Mm-hmm. So me and my buddy are walking around watching all the kids while they're like stumbling around drinking moonshine.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's good because those samples, some of them do it for free. I think some of them charge like $5 or something, and it's nothing. And it's like literally they give you a sample of like 15 different whiskeys.
Oh yeah, it's like a wine tasting. That's the same
only
thing.
if you're of legal age. I'm putting that disclaimer out there.
Oh yeah, well,
we don't condone underage drinking.
No.
Unless you don't get caught.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's been a long time for me since I was underage. I'll tell you that right now. I just had another birthday a little while ago. And,
oh, yeah, which one was that again?
Oh, we'll just keep that off the record. 40? What? Come on. I don't act like a 40-year-old, and I'm going to keep on doing that.
Well, and every year you get older does nothing but remind me that I'm getting a year older, too, so it's no fun.
Right. Would you turn 35? How old are you?
I'll be 32 in September.
Dang, you're young. Holy crap.
I'm real young.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
Well,
I'll be around for a while still. So are you. 40's not old. You got to take care of yourself. You got to lay off the biscuits and gravy.
I don't eat
Start eating some of that kale.
I mean, I do love biscuits and gravy, but I don't. I try to eat straight bacon.
That's right. Hey, my grandfather smoked a pack a day, ate bacon and eggs for every meal, drank beer every night, and he lived to be the ripe old age of 37. So don't you tell me that...
Are you serious?
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Like, how is your grandpa? I was doing all the math there, and it was not adding up.
Don't do that. No, I do have a great uncle, my dad's uncle, Uncle Lamar, who literally probably smoked up until he was in his 90s, probably 2-3 packs a day, bacon and eggs every morning, biscuits and gravy, but he worked his tail off. He never stopped working. Even when he kind of retired, he ran a garden that was the size of a small farm.
Oh,
and, yeah. He died when he was like 92 or 93.
Wow.
So
that's something else.
Not condoning smoking either, but hard work. It says a lot for hard work and getting out and moving around and not sitting around watching TV and drinking beer.
Mm-hmm. And
get out and drink beer.
Hey, and I half of my diet is definitely venison and wild turkey. Come on.
Mm-hmm. And not the kind you drink.
Yeah, well, once in a while.
I like to partake every once in a while.
So what we got on the agenda? That was a long intro. But
that was a long intro. Well, it's rambling. Rambling is what I do best on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've got a couple things I wanted to talk to you. We haven't talked much in the last couple weeks. I was out of town last week, and you were gone quite a bit before that. Traveling.
I was finishing up touring with Runaway June, and my wife is about ready to have our second baby, and I'm staying close to the house because she is. I think the baby measured already to like almost 9 pounds.
Oh my gosh!
Got a big
have a linebacker.
Yeah. Well, it's a girl, but
well, she's gonna be the first professional female linebacker.
Well, as long as she gets some good endorsements.
Daddy's got to retire on those legs.
Right, exactly.
Well, I was looking the other day. Did you hear about the Bill Busbice thing? You know who Bill Busbice is?
I have not. I know nothing about that.
He's the owner of what is the company that he owns? Is it Wild Game
Innovations?
No, is it Wild Game Innovations? Yeah,
he's
the owner of that company. Him and his sons, I think, own it, or he owns it, and his sons work for it too.
Oh, I knew you were talking about. He's the guy that has that dark black hair, and you're like,
yes,
dude, you're like 70, and you have jet black hair. What
yes,
this does not. That's something weird going on there.
If it's not natural, it's definitely some dyeing. If it is natural, I need to know what his diet is.
I think he was down there during that BP oil slick and fell in the water.
Oh, that's rough. So apparently he was in. I'm trying to think of where he was at. I'm actually looking up the story right now. He was in Wyoming elk hunting.
Great state.
And he shot at an elk. Missed. He shot at a bull, missed, hit a calf, or a young cow,
okay,
and killed it. then killed the bull, and then left. Like, went up, walked up, looked at it, and then left. And somebody saw him do it.
Ooh.
So they called him in. They were there filming a show. They called him in, and he just got fined like $26,000 and lost his hunting license for 2 years.
What in the world? Why would he do? What was he doing? He just
I don't know.
Shot at the dude.
He released a statement basically saying, like, I'm torn on the thing, because when you first hear it, you're like, oh, I can't believe somebody would do that, especially the professional hunter. It just gives them a bad name and da-da-da-da-da. But then when he released the press statement, and or he released a statement saying, you know, I'm sorry for what I did. He said, I shot at this bull, I missed, I hit this calf. He said, instead of staying around or calling the game warden and telling him what happened, I just left. So his apology was basically after he got caught. Had he never got caught, who knows if anybody would ever found out or not.
Wait, did he leave the bull lay too?
No, I don't think he left the bull. I think he had some guys, maybe his guides or some of the guys he was hunting with came back and got the bull later on.
Huh.
But they left the calf laying there.
Well, yeah. That's a tough. So what he should have done is turned himself in.
Right.
Technically, would he have had to pay a fine?
Well, that's the thing. Like, it just depends. I think it would have been up to, like, officer discretion. He probably would have had to pay a fine, but I would think from a professional hunter's or like a hunting personality standpoint, I would think that you would want to turn yourself in simply because the retribution of or the outcome of you turning yourself in is much better than the outcome of somebody finding out you did it and them turning you in.
Right.
Because if you turn yourself in, then you can get in front of it and say, you know what, I made a mistake. And I'm sure it was an honest mistake. I highly doubt he shot a cow on purpose. But he could have said, you know, hey, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm doing what I need to do to make it right. You know, if this happens to you, make sure you tell somebody. But instead, he just left. And now he's paying a big price for it. Yeah, I just looked up the story. He's paying $23,000 in fines, a year and a half of unsupervised probation. Dang. And then he lost his license for 2 years in Wyoming, which is
his hunting license, right?
His hunting license, yeah, which carries over into 45 states, because a lot of those states are on board with, if you lose your hunting license in one, they'll revoke them in the others as well. Dang. Including Louisiana, which is where they live.
Whoa.
Yeah. So he's getting hit hard for it, for sure. So, like, on one hand, I feel bad because it is an honest mistake that anybody could make. But then I think, well, I mean, why'd you leave? You know,
right?
You should have called somebody or something, because he probably, you know, it's speculation, but he probably would have gotten a much less severe fine. So I mean, what would you do?
He would not have lost his license.
No, they probably would have.
They probably would have given a $200 fine or something.
Well, they probably would have charged him like the restitution of the animal. Like, a lot of times they'll say, "Well, it's going to cost us this much to replace this animal. That's how much you got to pay." And then a lot of times they'll do that. But I mean, what would you do, honestly?
I mean, that would be a tough call.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there would be a lot of factors in play. I mean, we're being totally transparent here, and if I was on the back 40, I would be tempted to probably do what he did.
For sure.
You know, I would definitely be tempted to do that, because you're like, look, I didn't try and shoot this thing. I don't want to make a deal about it. So maybe, you know, I'm just going to feed the coyotes tonight. But
right.
Ethically, you are supposed to turn yourself in.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, that's a tough one. Like,
yeah, it is a tough one. I was thinking the same thing, because I was kind of thinking through it myself. I'm like, well, you know, like, the ethical hunter, legal hunter side of me says, well, you know, you call the game warden or the wildlife services, whoever it is in the state you're in, and say, you know what, I made a mistake. Here's what happened. Here's where it's at. Da 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 da. All that stuff. But then the other half of me thinks, like, well, what if I just skinned it out and kept the meat and nobody ever knew? Well, I certainly don't think I'd ever leave it laying there, but just because I don't think I could stand the thought of wasting the meat, even if it was an accidental shot. But
I don't know, man. That's tough. Because then you're admitting
That's true.
That you like shot this thing and you're like, well, I'm taking it home, and now you can't argue the fact that you didn't mean to shoot it because now you're skinning it. It's just a bad situation.
It's a bad situation all around.
But it comes down to the fact, especially in the position he's at with his huge, following, and also his endorsement with all of his companies, he should have turned himself in. I mean, there's no question.
They just started.
No question. It's like
no, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing. Like on that side of things, I know it's easy to throw stones from the other side, but you just think like, man, you got an awful lot to lose. Why wouldn't you just turn yourself in? The money's not going to be a big hit. $23,000, although it's $23,000, it's nothing to scoff at. It's also not but a drop in the bucket for what he can afford, because that company he owns does quite well, and his show does quite well. So I wouldn't be too concerned about the financing of it, but it's just take it on the chin and save some face, and come out and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do what I need to do to make it right. He'd have come out being a hero rather than a villain, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. So there you go. I would say that sometimes you got to turn yourself in like that to save some face and be the bigger person. You might have, and I think you'll feel better and sleep better at night because of it.
Yeah, for sure. No, I completely agree. That was really the only newsworthy thing I'd kind of see. There's some. I don't know if it's happened or it's about to happen, but they're either have delisted or are delisting the grizzly bear from the Endangered Species Act, which means that eventually you'll be able to hunt them in the lower 48. There's nowhere in the lower 48 you can hunt them.
Dang.
Right now. You have to go up to Canada or Alaska to get them.
I know they hunt us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's the big debate. So the Endangered Species Act, I had to do some reading up on it because I think we're at a disadvantage being from the southeast that we don't really deal with a lot of public land and a lot of big tracts of land, and we don't have a lot of the big game animals that they have out west and up north, or in the northwest and up in Canada. We don't really we have some elk in Tennessee, but it's very limited. They get about 5 tags a year. We have some black bears in East Tennessee, but it's very limited. We have no elk. No elk on private land, no wild elk. No grizzlies, no antelope, no moose, nothing like that. So a lot of those federal things that involve those kind of animals, we don't really ever even have to think about because we don't ever have the opportunity to hunt them. But they've the grizzly's been on the Endangered Species Act for quite a while and been listed as endangered. And so the states can't open anything up to hunting. Well, now the population's gotten to the point where they can be delisted, and so I think they have either decided to delist them or are about to, and all these PETA and animal rights groups are up in arms because they don't want them to come off the list because they know once they come off the list, they're going to be open game for hunting eventually. Maybe not right away, but within the next few years. And so I don't know. It's like a lot of people use that endangered species stuff they play it as a political pawn. It's ridiculous how they use it to get an animal on it and keep them on it to where they never come off simply because they don't want their cute, cuddly bears to be hunted eventually for people who eat the meat and actually use the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, and my uncle lives in Canada and up in New Brunswick in that area. And their bear population has just gone through the roof. It's and they're allowed to hunt them, but they're just, there is a lot. So, and that's the black bear. They do have grizzlies, I think they have it. Yeah, they do on the East Coast. When I got to go hunt with them, we didn't see any grizzlies, and he didn't have any on trail cam at the time. But I do know that there has been, in talking to him over the last year, the population has just boomed in their area of black bear. So you can only assume that if black bear are doing well, then grizzlies are doing well also. So that would totally make sense, and I feel like that we have a good checks and balance going with the wildlife resource agencies that are across America, and I think I support their decisions because there's certain, especially in the states that are like states like Wyoming, their main source of revenue is the outdoor industry and hunting. That's the only thing they have going. And so if they can introduce a new game that people can come to their state to hunt, then that helps the state, it helps commerce and everything like that. So
yeah, it helps the animal as well. Like, I mean, that's the thing that I'm trying to get better about and trying to do more research on things is trying to use science-based biology rather than like feelings. So like you can't really trust us hunters when it comes to whether or not a animal should be hunted or not, or if the population supports it or the environment supports it, because I'm generally going to say, well, does it produce meat? Yes, then I want to hunt it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you can't trust animal rights advocates, on the other hand, because they completely work off of feelings and don't work off of reality for the most part. There are plenty that do, I'm sure, but the ones that are most outspoken generally don't work off of science or biology at all. All they do is work off of feelings. The bears are cute, therefore we shouldn't hunt them. The deer are cute, therefore we shouldn't hunt them. So I'm trying to.
They're delicious.
They are delicious. Yes, they're very cute in a skillet. That's why I really do have a lot of faith in the wildlife resources and conservation agencies on the federal and state level, is because they have the ability to put feelings aside and just use science and biology. You can just say, you know what, this species can support giving away 4 tags this year, or this sex of this species can afford shooting 3 a day all deer season, like they do here in Tennessee for does. I tell people from out of the state and from other parts of the country about, they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, how in the world can you guys shoot? I was like, you don't understand. Like, it's not just we're a bunch of rednecks, we want to shoot all the deer. The unit that we hunt in can absolutely support that number and still not make a dent in our deer population. Now you can get to arguments about buck to doe ratio and all that kind of stuff, but like the deer population can support it. Right. Yeah, it's science. It's not just us wanting to kill a bunch of deer.
I know that sounds very strange to someone that is not a hunter, that like, oh, this actually will help the species to allow us to kill some of them. I'm like, how does that work? Well, we're actually thinning the herd, which actually makes the ratios better for the deer, and there won't be disease that comes into the herd. There's more food for the herd, and people won't hit them with their cars. Obviously, there's all kinds of arguments,
Well, and and I recognize that it's a backwards logic. I absolutely recognize that hunting is the North American model of wildlife conservation. I get that that's a backwards thought, that you have to open the animals up to kill them in order to protect them. But it's very much like in Africa, the big game hunting, it's so frowned upon. And while I don't have much of a desire to go shoot a lion legally in Africa, a lot of people do, and the amount of lions that are there, the reason that they're there in those numbers is because they make so much money off of selling the tags to hunt, the government does, that those lions now have a monetary value. So there's a large incentive there to not let people poach them, and to keep them protected, and to keep them in high fenced areas to where they can breed and have good habitat. Like, there's a motivator there, and it's money, and that's what humans are motivated more for, on a large part, for the most part. And so if you take that monetary value away, the government has no reason to try to stop poachers. Just poach them, kill all of them. Who cares? They're not worth anything to us. What are they helping? Mm-hmm. So it's a backwards logic. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a political and it's a money thing, and it's the same way here in the U.S. I mean, white-tailed deer, I mean, if they didn't have a monetary value, why would the state help protect them and try to help the herd and keep the herd healthy? They wouldn't. There'd be no reason. But because people are willing to pay $130 a year for a deer tag here in Tennessee, well, that's all your hunting tags, basically. But
can you believe it's come up to that price, by the way?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's pretty expensive.
It's expensive. That's expensive.
But you got to think of what you're getting for your money. I mean, tens,
the same
hundreds,
thing you got 15 years ago.
Well, I don't know if that's entirely true. You gotta think like tens of thousands of acres you can go hunt for free, and there's a lot you get for your money. There.
No, I
don't have a problem with the price. If it were like $400 or $500 like it is in some places, then I might have an issue. But $150 in a year for me to hunt and fish for anything I want to basically is not much to ask for, in my opinion.
I stagger it too. Do you get the sportsman's or do you always get?
I don't. I'm like I have learned that I can save a little money by buying licenses individual because I don't muzzle load. If I muzzle loaded for deer, then I would buy the sportsman. But because I don't muzzle load for deer, it's cheaper for me to buy everything separately.
Right. Yeah. And the one time you did muzzle load.
Oh my gosh! Not the one time. The like 4 times that oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, we've missed more deer with a muzzleloader with the same muzzleloader.
Yeah, with the same muzzleloader after it being sighted.
I need to sell that damn gun. That thing.
I wouldn't sell it. We need to have a muzzleloader burning party is what we need to have. Don't put that thing out in the world.
Man, I just someone could probably tune it up right. It's just not me.
Right. Yeah. That's
Although
true.
last year I will say I did shoot a deer with it. I think 2 years ago. And when I did sight it in this year, it was shooting straight. I mean, I had it figured out, but it was it's a traditions muzzleloader. And it just, for the longest time, that thing was not shooting straight. And I think I had my mount on the scope was really crooked. I think that's the problem. And once I got that zeroed in, it was shooting better, but.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem was it's a piece of shit.
Well, that was actually a bonus from when I was working for MCR Group for your dad's company. I finished this big job in Brentwood, and the owners came out and gave me a $300 gift card to Bass Pro Shop, and I was like, "This is the awesome. Best job ever." And
Bass Pro.
Yeah, I went straight to Bass Pro that weekend, and I got the traditions. I should have just put another $200 on top of that and got something really nice. I don't know what I was thinking, but I went for the kit. I was like, I've always wanted a muzzleloader. But I should have just put another $200 on there, and I would have had a really nice damn gun. But
right. Well, it happens.
I was young.
No, it happens for sure. I don't know. I've never owned a muzzleloader, so I can't really talk crap about yours because I've never even owned one. The only one I've ever hunted with is yours, but I need to buy one eventually just so I can. I don't know.
Man.
I'm just okay awesome. With. I mean, you only get 2 weeks of muzzleloader season here in Tennessee. I don't see the
Yeah,
point.
but it's the best
like,
2 weeks.
Just hunt with a bow.
It's the best 2 weeks, though.
Just hunt with a bow. You be a real man.
Well, I believe me, I love to hunt with my bow, but man, when it's the peak of rut and you're sitting there and you can cover 150 to 200 yards. Shoot, these really good muzzleloaders, you can probably shoot 300 yards. I don't know about 300, maybe 250.
Right.
But that's pretty dang awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Of course, this last year, rut hit like 3 weeks behind.
Yeah,
so
opening week of gun season.
Rifle season, everybody was laying them out. It was probably the biggest year for killing big bucks that I've seen in a while here in the Southeast.
Not us personally.
No, not us personally, but all my friends were.
Can you imagine if we would have been able to have that Dixon 50 spot?
Oh, it would have been awful.
It would have been, or even like Phillips property.
Right,
man.
Hey, I had a good season. I hunted one day, and I killed 2 deer.
You hunted one day?
I hunted one day this last season.
Get out of here.
Nope. That morning that me, you, and Bo went to Jacob's place, I killed.
I'm sorry.
2 does.
I'm sorry. I've got to call you back.
Oh, all right.
I just hung up on Jared. Because he only hunted one day in deer season. One day. One day.
One day. You can't act like that just happened. You just hung up on me randomly.
I did that on purpose because I can't believe you only hunted
You're mad at me. I see what you're saying. I was afraid that your wife went into labor and that you didn't, that something was happening.
No, it's nothing like that. I'm just mad at you that you only hunted one day.
It was even worse than that. You found out I only hunted one day last year.
I thought you did. I thought you hunted at least a handful of times. I didn't know it was one day.
I hunted one day during rifle season, and I killed 2 deer that morning, and I said, you know what, this is good enough. Because I broke my ankle this last year.
Jared,
I broke my ankle opening week of bow season.
Are you okay?
I'm fine.
Do you need to see a counselor?
Blink twice if your wife's beating you.
Are you locked in a closet?
I'm not.
Okay.
This is a safe space.
Right. Well,
no, I broke my ankle opening week of bow season. I couldn't hunt at all. Remember, I had to hobble down to that stand down the hill.
That. Yep.
I had a brace on inside my rubber boot.
I do remember that.
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, I couldn't do it.
It was an awesome hunt. That was like,
it was great.
Yeah, we laid out 3 does and it was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was a really good hunt. So I feel like I'm all right. All right, I'm okay with that. But I'm gonna get some more deer hunting in this year for sure. And I have a brand new bow and I haven't hunted with it. I got it 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. That bow that y'all got me for my birthday.
Oh, that's your buddy. That's your buddy pulled together the money.
That's my old buddy, old pal Kevin, and a couple of my other buddy old pals got me for my birthday, and my lovely wife.
You know, half of your buddies, my buddies, never paid me back for that, but that's all right.
Oh man, I didn't know that. That sucks for you, man.
I gotta call those guys.
Well, I just sent, maybe that's why I just sent Justin Shipper a text today asking if he wanted to do an episode of the podcast. He hadn't texted me back. Maybe that's why he's afraid I'm trying to hit him up for money.
Oh, no, I think he did actually pay me. Yeah, he's one of the ones that did pay me. The rest will remain nameless.
Well, I know one of them. He ain't got no daggum reason not to pay it.
Right. Yeah. So that's going to be a great podcast with Justin, though.
It's going to be good. That will be a music heavy podcast, and I'm okay with it. I like a mix. I like the real music heavy ones, and I like the hunting heavy ones.
Dude, it's perfect. We can do the same. He's got a studio at his house, so.
Oh, perfect.
We're hooked up. We just.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we don't even have to see each other's ugly faces.
I know. That's the main reason for doing this. I've got a picture of Jennifer Aniston up right in front of my phone right now, just pretending that's who I'm talking to.
Her voice is a little higher than mine, a little bit.
Well, maybe she's a smoker. Who knows?
Right.
Oh, well. You're ruining the dream right here. I need you to quit.
Right. Oh, sorry about that. Well, for those of us that were in the woods, I actually took 2 8 points this year and 3 does. So I had a big year for deer season.
No, you had a good year.
Mm-hmm. Especially for not leasing any property. That was all private property.
In public, didn't you kill a buck on public?
2 bucks on public.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. I've yet to kill a whitetail on public land here in Tennessee. I've killed a bunch of turkeys, but I've yet to kill a whitetail yet.
The only bucks I saw on that public land, or the only deer I saw were bucks that I shot.
Right.
It's crazy. I mean, there was deer sign everywhere. But yeah, I got a little secret honey hole that I'm not telling anybody else. You know where it is, but
I know where it is.
Yeah,
it's I'm gonna let you have your spot.
Yeah, it's not big enough to talk about because there's already a couple guys that I ran into, and I'm like, how often do you hunt here? And,
right. It's not big and it's not posted.
Right, exactly, and it's public, so like
that's right. All right, so I have a question for you that I posted a podcast last week, just me answering some leftover questions we didn't get to in our Q&A unqualified hunting advice podcast we did that you guys should listen to if you like beginner hunting advice. That's where we're at, is the beginner stuff. And it was a question about, do you shoot does, which I know the answer there is yes, but the question then led into, do you shoot young bucks? And my answer was and I literally said, as I'm going to be kind of the opposite of Kevin here, as long as it's okay with the landowner and I haven't killed a deer yet, I will shoot the first buck that walks up. I don't care if it's a spike or a 180-inch 10-point. But what is your opinion on shooting young bucks? When is it okay? When is it not okay? Is it ever okay? How do you feel about it? And go.
Here's how I feel about shooting bucks. I love to shoot bucks, and it's why we all got into hunting in the first place. We love antlers. It's the trophy. It's the whole thing. But there's a whole, making the herd in the area grow bigger is what you want to do. And I think for me personally, it's a very personal decision that everyone has to make. Because it definitely goes into how many deer you have on the wall. If I didn't have 4 deer hanging above my desk right now, I would be taking smaller bucks. But the thing is, I've got a couple that I'm very proud of, that you're kind of using what you've already shot as a barometer to say, like, well, that's bigger. It's just your internal thing that you do when you're in the stand. Now, there's a couple different things that come into play, though. Every year is different. If it's getting to be like towards the end of season, and I've had a rough year, I have not seen any quality bucks, and I've only taken, there's some years. There was that one year, remember we were shooting the Tom Bob Outdoors special, or the episodes. I literally didn't have a doe shot.
Oh my gosh.
Past the opening week of bow season, and I was hunting hard, and I didn't, the deer were just every time on the other side of the property. And so by the end of that year, it was gun season, and I had shot one doe. And I was filming, trying to get one on film, and the 6-point came out, and I took it because the whole year was so rough. I was like, this is a trophy for me because I'm hunting so hard. This is going to be a good kill, and for me, that was a great kill. What I'm not into is people that are downplaying what you kill, it's like everybody's doing their own hunt. It's like you're individually, decide what your trophy is. And so, I'm not into people that are just like, oh yeah, I shot bigger deer like that when I was 12 years old. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I do believe in growing the herd. So if you're able to manage some land and really focus on having maybe four antlers on one side, or a certain distance past the ear, whatever you decide that you and the group of guys that you're hunting with are going to do, I'm all for that. I think that's the best way to grow quality deer. Is you can't shoot all the small bucks. But if I'm on an area where no one else is doing that, there again, it depends on what I personally have on the wall.
Right. Well, and that's where I land too. I think it's a very personal decision. And so you have to decide what, and that decision will probably change as you hunt for a longer amount of time. It'll probably ebb and flow in and out. But I think the biggest thing, like you just said, is for lack of a better term, the antler shaming that goes on in the hunting community. One, it's not fair because you don't know where that person's hunting, if that's a really nice deer or not.
Because Tennessee deer are not as big as Kansas deer.
Exactly. So 145-inch deer in Kansas, and a lot of places in Tennessee is 110-inch 8-point. You know what I mean? It's not a huge. It's certainly a nice deer, but it's not a beast of a deer. Mm-hmm. And so you have to take that into account. Two, it's really none of your daggum business. As long as they're doing ethically and legally, they can shoot whatever they want to, and you might have an opinion about it, but you need to keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Because it's up to them what's a trophy or not. And three is you can't. We have enough people on the outside trying to stop hunting any way possible, there doesn't need to be dissension in the ranks. There doesn't need to be people in the hunting community, actual hunters, talking bad about other hunters for doing stuff that's legal and ethical. It's like, just because you don't agree with it doesn't need to be talking somebody down about it, because there's enough people on the outside doing that. We don't need people inside. We need to be supportive of each other and say, you know what, man, I'm glad. If you're proud of shooting that deer, then that's a great deer. You know what I mean? And just keep your opinion to yourself. And that's hard to do when there's social media and the internet, when everyone has a voice and there's really no repercussions from talking negatively about somebody. The person can type it up, leave, and not think about it twice, but the guy that got that message that has 3 likes on Instagram and had some nasty comment left about a 4-point he shot last year, that may ruin his day, you know, or piss him off and make him want to stop hunting altogether. You don't know. Yep. So if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say anything at all.
Yep, there it is.
Listen to Thumper.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And there's a whole thing too of like, I'm a meat hunter first, and so if I've got a guaranteed kill, and my freezer is empty, I'm taking a 4-point. You know, it's like, if my freezer's full, and that deer is smaller than what I have on the wall, he's walking. That's what it comes down to. So that's why I say there's like so many things that come into play on when I decide what is big enough to shoot. It's like the land, what you have on the wall, how your stock is, you know, it's like there's so many things. Like, when's the last time you killed a deer? You know, all kinds of things that go into play. But and that's why I think that it goes into, it's such a personal decision. It's like, and for us, we live hunting. So it's not like we're paying an outfitter to take us and put us on some deer, and it has to be this certain size. We're literally just walking into the woods somewhere that we found and looking for deer sign, and, you know, maybe if you read the woods right, a deer's going to come out. So it's it's a whole different style of hunting than when you pay an outfitter. And you're like, you know, so I feel like it's 2 different sports almost.
Right.
You know,
it's very different.
When you're just paying an outfitter and the guy sitting in a box with you and be like, all right, that one's big enough. He's a 160 or better. Right. Go ahead and shoot it. That's it's like, I don't know.
And it goes back to what you said, too, about time. Like, when I was younger, I was much more likely to pass up a 2-year-old 6-point the 3rd week of bow season, because I knew I was hunting 4 or 5 times a week. I mean, literally 4 or 5 mornings or evenings a week I was in the woods. So, yeah, I'll pass him up. I'll get another shot at a couple more deer before season's over with. But now, with a wife and 3 kids and a career and a job on the side, like, my time is so precious to me in the woods. Like, I'm gonna make it worth it. So if a maiden doe walks up and I have not killed a deer, that maiden doe is going to die, or I'm at least gonna fling an arrow at it or a bullet. And so
and the second arrow is gonna kill it. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. It always takes that second shot's the one that counts. hey, when you're eating a steak, they don't ask how many times you shot it. So. You know, like, so I mean, that there's, like you said, there's so many variables that my thing, when I hear that come up, or when people ask me about it or whatever, when I see it, like, my first thought is like, man, just like have your own opinion about what you do and let everybody else do what they do. That's my biggest thing. Is it ethical? Are they killing it in an ethical way? Are they wounding every deer they shoot and it's running off and they're never finding it? That's not ethical.
That's not good.
You know, they're taking pot shots out of the window of a truck. That's not ethical, and that's not legal. And the legal thing is, are they taking it legally? Are they allowed to shoot that deer? Mm-hmm. And so if they're doing those 2 things, then, I mean, why knock somebody down for doing something that you love to do as well? They're just choosing to do it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the whole thing of just taking pop shots, I think that's kind of a pet peeve where you can see it sometimes even on hunting shows, where I can almost, I mean, I don't, this is going to sound weird, but I can almost tell when someone is going to put a bad shot on a deer.
Right.
It's almost like their body language are not confident or something, and but it just takes a lot of practice.
It does, and we all do it. I mean, I've been deer hunting for 17 years now. I killed my first deer 17 years ago, and so we all do it. That's not to say that people don't make mistakes, but I think the older that I'm certainly not old, not nearly as old as you are, that's for sure.
That's
but but the older I get, the more emphasis I put on life in general, and I put that emphasis on the life of a deer or the life of a dove or the life of a turkey, whatever I'm hunting is like, if I'm going to go through the process of trying to take that animal's life, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it's done where they have to suffer as little as possible during the process.
Yeah.
And so taking a pot shot and shooting one in the butt is not something I'm aiming to do. Now, has it happened before? Yes. I've certainly wounded animals and lost deer before. I lost my fair share of deer, sometimes just because of circumstance and sometimes because I didn't do my prep work. But every one of those sticks with you for a long time, and you learn a lesson and try not to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Nobody likes to walk up on a live deer and put another round in it. I don't care who you are. Fun. If you do like that, you need to get some help.
Yeah, you do. It ain't right.
Yeah. Like, nobody likes to do that. But you like to have a quick kill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something quick. They didn't have to suffer, and also you don't have to really look far from them. If they fall within eyesight, it's even better.
That's right. Come on.
That's right. So, all right. Well, I mean, that's. I think that's about our time. You got anything you want to hit before we tell the fine folks adieu?
Let me think here a second if there's anything. I'm gonna be posting a. What do you call it? Like an unboxing video? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Is that the
review,
technical?
an unboxing. Yeah, I think that's what the kids are calling it.
Oh, I've been doing a lot of fishing down at the pond, dude. You have